So everyone, I've had this idea that I was going to make a question and answer session where I'm just going to get a bunch of questions. I'm going to go over them because people keep asking questions in comments that I of course all have to answer, and I decided that maybe it would be better if I just had one video where I go over a whole bunch of questions at once, and then maybe that way I can get question and answering out a lot more efficiently. So we're going to start out. I'm just going to go through all the comments that I currently have. If more comments come in or I make other posts like this, then of course we're going to make more videos like this. But we're going to start out with Sir Sailor Stars asking, what is the best two-girl team in existence as of this question? It doesn't specify for North American server or Japanese server. For Japanese server, it's actually hard to say, by the way. First off, just the best in total, because of course there's challenge quests, there is just farming, there is PvP, there's mirrors, there's ranked mirrors, and for all of these different sections you kind of need to have like different teams. But if you just want to win, like for example, if you just want to win in mirrors, or if you just want to, if you don't care how fast exactly it is for PvE, like if you like do a farming stage in 3 turns or 4 turns, if you don't really care about that much, you just want to win and efficiently, then I guess just 2 blast rulers would be the best. And in that case, on the North American server, probably the best team is probably 2 Ashleys right now, because they both have connects, of course, that are extremely powerful with blast. And of course, if you have 2 Ashleys, that means you're guaranteed to get a blast combo every single turn. However, I think it's a little bit overrated, because it's actually more important to get Puellas every turn, and if with just 2 characters, you are guaranteed to get a Puella every turn anyway. And Puellas are usually better than just getting a blast turn every turn, because if you get a Puella, that of course means that the next turn you get to do a connect, and connects are a lot more important than just trying to get a blast off every single turn. But at least for farming, it's a little bit faster if you get blasts every turn. But yeah, probably just because the connects are so powerful and Ashley has such good stats, it's probably double Ashley. But even so, double Nanaka, even though Nanaka is a free-to-play character, double Nanaka is also extremely powerful. On the Japanese server, it's probably something like Yosuru together with, hard to say, someone who has a really good blast connect. Maybe even Kazumi. It sounds really stupid, but Kazumi's connect is actually really fucking awesome for Yosuru. But just anything like that. Anyone who has a really good blast connect is also, together with Yosuru, is probably looking towards the best 2-girl team on the Japanese server. That Kilka Spook asks, I don't know anything, I don't know if this counts, I don't know why I said I don't know anything, I don't know if this counts because it's something, because I read something is anything. We still don't have in NA, but what are your thoughts on Arc 2 and its writing? Any great new characters from a story perspective? I've been curious about it since they released Livia and the others. Of course, as always, I'm not going to give any actual story spoilers, so don't worry about that. However, I will say that the quality of writing, it's mostly on the same level as it is from Arc 1. That means if you liked Arc 1, if you thought Arc 1 was fine, then I guess Arc 2 is also going to be fine. It's not going to be that much different. However, if you are one of those people who after Arc 1 said, man, this sucked, I wanted something that's way better, I want something that's really fucking awesome because Arc 1 sucked. Arc 2 is not gonna be different. It has many of the same problems that Arc 1 writing had, but on the other hand, we're only like not even 2 chapters, like 2 full chapters in, because the second chapter is still like underway, it's not actually finished yet. So since we're so far towards the beginning, it's hard to say what the entire arc will be like, but at least so far it's just mostly the same level of quality. And then Toge Hope, I don't know, probably Toge Hope because it's a Pokemon. How would you go upon rebalancing the 3 discs XL, Charge and Blast in Magadejko? I also don't like how it's not ABC but ACB. Anyway, the thing is, I think Axel and Blast are both in pretty good spots. Axel is really, really good if the character has a good Magia, so it kind of depends on the character, while Blast is just how good is your attack and how many blasters you have. So they're both focusing on different aspects. Axel is all about building Magia, restoring MP, trying to crank up that resource management, because you have this resource, this MP bar on every single character that you're trying to push as high as possible, and then you're trying to have really impactful Magia combinations combinations where you debuff enemies, buff yourself, trying to keep that combination going over multiple turns, which does require very specific characters with very specific effects and good combinations of those. While on the other hand, you just have Blast, which is basically the Unga Bunga caveman, the idea of just stacking characters with high attack and a bunch of blast discs, and then just using Blast every single turn and blasting your opponent to death. So with just that, you have two different playstyles that require two different aspects of like gameplay to make work, and I think they're both really powerful. Blast just requires less specific girls. You can just take any character that has good blast, it has like many blasters and good attack, and they're gonna be fine. While with Excel, like you really need specific characters to make it work really well. But if you have a good team for both, they're both rather equal, but Blast of course will farm a bit faster and be more consistent in that. So those two are actually in a good spot. The only one who isn't in a good spot is Charge. And I keep going on about this, is when I say that Charge is bad, some people might say, okay, he's just going on about how good Blast is. That guy thinks Blast is the best disc. Yeah, I mean, it is the most efficient disc and the easiest to use, but Excel is also really good. Charge is just the only one that sucks, kind of. And in order to rebalance this, I've made an entire video about why Charge is bad, and towards the very end of that video, in like the last like 5 or 10 minutes, I actually have this laid out, this little big plan that I wrote down and talk about on how to make Charge good. It would take like 5 more minutes or so to go on about this right now. So I'm just going to link that video in the description below, and you can. I'm probably just going to have next to the video link like a timestamp, or maybe I'm going to put the timestamp in the video as well, so you can just click that and see what my idea on how to fix Charge would be. And then Outdated asks, first off, which Magadejko characters did you dislike at first but warmed up to as the story progressed? So with this sort of question I need to think back really hard, because it was almost 3 years ago. When I first started, of course, I didn't really know any of the characters, and because everything was in Japanese, I didn't have the ability to read any story whatsoever. But what I did pick up on is that, well, we have Nanaka, who is completely smug and blasts me to death in one turn in mirrors every single time. Because even on release, some people realized, wait a second, characters with 3 blasters are actually really fucking powerful in PvP. And during that initial time where people weren't quite sure what was good and what wasn't good, those few people that realized that like good attack blast gorillas are actually busted in PvP, Nanaka just killed everyone immediately, and people didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like even forest characters completely died, because you had like one slot Hinanos level 60 with no memorias, and it's like a level 80 like Nanaka on the enemy team with, I think it was like Toward the Light, the Tsuruno memo, then you just died immediately. So the thing is, I'm talking about gameplay, but since I didn't know much about the story, I think I read up a little bit, and I just saw that, okay, she's smug and stuff, she's like super full of herself, and she's strong in PvP. Man, I really hated that. I really hated it, because I don't like smug characters. I actually really don't like smug characters at all. But then on a North American server, I read a bit into a story, and it actually took until the North American server for me to actually get deeper into Nanaka. That sounded weird. Deeper into the story of Nanaka. And after I read a bit of the story and I saw what she was about, I was like, wait a second. She's like a morally good version of Yagami Light. And she's fucking glorious, and I think like character archetype glorious bastard. That's kind of what she's like. I really like her now. So yeah, that's basically my answer to that question. Do you think it would have been better to give Holy Quintet a larger role in the story, or cut them out of the story entirely to develop the Magadejko characters more? I say cut them out entirely, because they don't really have that much of a stake in the story. There's one character actually who would fit really, really well into the story, which is Homura, which is kind of the prologue was about. The prologue was basically about, hey, Homura wants to save Madoka, and in order to do that, she kind of needs to go around this whole problem that you have with magical girls just dying after a while. And it would have made sense for her to be interested in how she could save Madoka by going to Kamehama, and she would have probably joined Magius, because of course she would. Joining Magius would have like saved Madoka, and we know Homura, she would of course do that. So I believe that would have been great. None of the other characters have any sort of stake in this situation whatsoever, and it kind of shows in the writing, because all of the other characters are just like, either like Madoka just tags along with Homura for no fucking reason, and the other 3 characters are just like, we heard there was something weird going on there, and then they sort of head over there, and then something happens to Mummy, and they're like, oh no, something happened to Mummy. I guess we stay around a bit to make sure that we sort of solve the problem that Money has. Whoop-de-doo. There's like no reason why they're even there apart from Homura, and Homura doesn't even join Megas, so she doesn't do anything either. So I would just say cut them out completely, like screw it, and just make the story completely about them. But that's not realistic, and I don't mean realistic for the story, I mean realistic for our real life, because the Puella Quintet of course sells the game. They in recent polls about character popularity in Magadejko, the PMHQ was still like on, it's like the top 8 had all 5 PMHQ in there, and I think the other 3 were like Ren, Alina, Yacho even. I think Yacho is super duper high. Anyway, so yeah, just cut them out. Do you believe that there is any possibility that Monogatari collab will ever arrive on NA? I think it will happen. I think it definitely will happen. I know some people have been doom posting about, oh no, it's never gonna happen because they don't have the rights or whatever. Of course they have the rights. It's their own fucking IP. It's their IP. Of course they have it. And if you're saying, well, it's developed by F4S, not by Shaft, so it's not really their IE. Yeah, but they're buddy with Shaft. Of course they're buddy with Shaft because it's Shaft's IP to some degree. So yeah, of course there's no problem there with rights. And if anyone and the thing is, we just don't know anything about it at all. We have no official information. So if someone out there tells you that Monogatari collab is not going to happen, like as a fact, you are free to ignore everything they say, because there's no information on the entire internet that states as a fact that it isn't going to happen. It's people just doom posting. However, now to actually answer the question, yeah, it is going to happen someday. I'm rather certain, not 100%, I can't say it as a fact, but I'm rather certain it will happen at someday, because we did actually find some of the Monogatari files in some data mines. Not completely, I don't think they were translated, but we did at least find some hints of some files with Monogatari collab in the game files, so it seems like they at least have something planned. The reason why it didn't arrive yet is because the Monogatari collab is like no prerequisite to anything else in the story, because Monogatari collab has no story. None of the characters have a magical girl story, none of them. There's no login story as far as I know. There's no event that goes along with it. Monogatari collab is literally just a gacha and you get some items. It's literally just a gacha and you get some items. There's no story to it. And this of course means, since we're trying to catch up with JP, Monogatari would just slow us down. It would slow us down really hard to do Monogatari, because it would just be an entire week of just a gacha with no story event, while we still have so many other story events that we need to get through to actually catch up with JP. So I think they're just going to catch up with JP, and once they are caught up, then they might probably do the Monogatari collab, because then they have some free time to actually do it. Because doing Monogatari collab now breaks our tempo down really hard, and I don't think they want to slow us down. Do you think more social features, e.g. a chat, a group guild, sending daily bonuses to friends, etc. could add to the game or other stage? I think it would be very, very nice, because the community is probably the best thing about all of Magadejko. But of course, if you're just playing the game without being on Discord, for example, then you wouldn't have any sort of connection to the community, which kind of sucks. And during the Walpurgisnacht event, of course, we had this feature of talking to other people with chat. Of course, most people just memed about with it. Some people were trolling and stuff, but even so, a lot of people really loved that, and I think it would definitely add to the game. However, I am of course aware of all the downsides that come with having a chat, for example. The thing about a chat is that people, at least I've seen it, people usually use chat to like do scams and stuff, or talk about exploits or bug abuses, or sell currency for real money, stuff like that. Like, people always do scams and real money transactions in chats like that, and you would have to have like a moderator, or people would try to, or people would like fight each other with words that of course I can't say on here, and you would have like a moderator, or you have to create a system that filters out these messages automatically, and it's a huge pain in the ass. But even so, I think maybe just having it between friends would have been nice. But then you could also say maybe just some people walk around just adding everyone they can find to their friend list, and hopefully they do a mutual, and then when they're mutual, they send them a scam link or whatever. So it's really hard to like control all of that, and I can understand why. But that's like I said, I still think it would be beneficial to the game. Also, sending daily bonuses to friends, that would be great. I don't know about a group or guild. I guess maybe you could make it work, but it would require like a whole lot of work to actually make that happen. But overall, I think it would add to the game, definitely. Especially because Magadejko is a lot more light-hearted in tone than Madoka Magica, and it's Magadejko. more so than PMMM, is a lot more about friendship and holding together and having a team and stuff, you know? That would work really well. Woohoo asks, when did you start playing? How did you come across Magadejko? I always knew about Magadejko because I think it was some random Twitters that I followed about Magadejko, because I've watched Magadejko like when it came out in like 2011. I've followed some people since then. I totally forgot who it was, and I don't think I even follow them anymore. And I also read some news on like Anime News Network or whatever. So I knew about the game like well in advance, and I just played it when it came out on the Japanese server. Like I've really been playing since the release on the Japanese server. Are you saving for any upcoming NA unit? No, I don't save for any NA units whatsoever. The reason is, I initially, when the game came out, I saved for Tard, and then I had Tard, and somehow in there I got a 4-slot Tsukuyo, which I don't use because it's charged, and I somehow in there got a 7-slot Ren. I'm not even kidding, I have 3 Destiny gems on NA and all of them come from Ren. I need to keep bringing it up, I never specifically rolled for Ren, neither on the Japanese server, neither on the NA server. I never rolled specifically for Ren. Like I never put a single roll into, maybe not a single roll, I haven't put more than like 20 rolls in total across both servers into a Ren gacha. And on the JP server, I've rolled 6 Rens. And on the NA server, I rolled 7 Rens. I don't know how I do that. But anyway, because I have like a 4-slot Ren, a 4-slot Tard, and then I just randomly save for whatever, I didn't really care too much. I managed to get a 4-slot Ashley. At this point, I've kind of beaten the game. Like, I know from my experience on the Japanese server, just by just having these 3 characters, I can basically just lean back and be like, oh, I don't ever need any other unit ever again. I basically have beaten the game right now, because the only thing that matters at this point is members, and I don't need to roll for them. And because of that, I'm not saving for anything specific anymore, because I don't roll for best character usually. I like for waifu. I don't roll for waifu usually, and I also usually only roll for like gameplay stuff. So because I don't need to roll for gameplay, the only thing that I'm sometimes saving for is when there are specific characters that I know have a decent magical girl story that I want to record. Like for example, or just in general, if there's a character who I know barely anyone is going to roll for, but I need their magical girl story recorded for the Google Sheet that I have. Because I have this Google Sheet, I'm probably also going to link that, where I have links to every single magical girl story in the game in video form, and sometimes I just go in the Discord where there's like a few thousand people and ask, hey, has someone here rolled that character and is able to record their MSS? And then I ask for like multiple days and no one writes back. For example, for Ikumi, no one actually rolled for Ikumi because people realized how terrible Ikumi is, so no one rolled for her. So I had to just go in, spend like 200 rolls or whatever on Ikumi just to record the magical story. And that's kind of how I'm operating. I'm basically just only saving for stuff that I might need to record videos of. Just yesterday, I rolled 200 rolls on the premium gacha to get the costume tickets because I want to record costume stories. And I spent over 200 rolls for that, even though I know it's terrible to do that, but I want to record the costume stories. That's basically what I'm saving for and rolling for. Do you have a favorite unit, Ren? Maybe it will be for use for gameplay, Ren, or just for overall design, Ren, personality, Ren, and history, Ren. Yes, right there. The thing is, it's kind of weird. It feels like Ren isn't even designed by the same people that designed all of the other characters, because Ren in visual design, like in her animations, in her magia, in her doppel description, her outfit, everything about her, even from just a visual standpoint, is so incredibly coherent in its theming, her story, personality, everything about her is this one really coherent, nicely crafted story where everything perfectly fits together. And I really love it when a character has this really great theme that permeates every single fiber of their design, like visually and story-wise. So it definitely be Ren. And even for gameplay, on Japanese server, like on an NA server, she's one of my like only 4-slot characters, so of course I'm using her almost all the time. At least when I'm not farming, because then I just do it with Ashley. But the thing is, on the Japanese server, I also always take her with me. Like, I have a 4-slot Madokami and a 4-slot Iriyachi and a 4-slot Kuru Homura, 2-slot Yosuru, who's gonna be 4-slot soon, 4-slot Final Tard. I have all these good 4-slot units that are like really high tier, and still Ren is the only unit that is always coming along, because Ren's SE is super duper good for supporting. She's like probably one of the best supports in the game, which is really weird because she also hits like a truck, because she has like 80, almost, it feels like she has 80% chase chance, and she hits for like 20,000 on chases, which is pretty darn busted. So I love her there as well. So yeah, it's ran all across the board, dude. Amma asks, what counts as an OP girl, and what do you think of Arc 2 girls? Love your videos, thank you. So I don't know if you're asking what counts as an OP girl, like what girl specifically counts as OP, but I would say that but I'm going to go more about what it actually is that makes a girl OP. I think I've said this towards the beginning of the Nanaka video as well. Usually, if you have a character that does one thing so incredibly goddamn good, that might make them OP if that thing that they're doing doing well is an efficient strategy. For example, the two most efficient strategies, or the two best strategies in general in the game right now, are blasting and magia. If you have a character that does either of these so incredibly goddamn awesomely well, that it doesn't really matter if they might have like no defense or whatever, if they have no attack, or if their connect is maybe not quite the best, that already makes them really fucking good. That doesn't make them completely OP, however, because for OPness they also kind of need to have a good connect as well. So it would be someone who is really, really good at doing this one specific really good strategy like blasting, but also has an amazing connect, like Ashley or Nanaka, for example. Like those are two really, really good examples for that. But the thing is, if it says overpowered, makes it seem like they're way more powerful than everything else, but I keep saying this, and the power level differences between all the different characters in Magadejko is fairly shallow. Like even the best character, they might be noticeably better than the worst character, but even the worst character can beat every single piece of content. It's Himika, by the way. If you're asking what the worst 4-star in the game is, it's Himika. Even she can beat every single piece of content if you've got good Memoria on her and she's a 4-slot, and you have actually a team built around that where it actually would work with her discs and whatever. But so yeah, I wouldn't really call them overpowered, but like noticeably more powerful than other characters, yeah. What do you think of Arc 2 girls? I don't know if you mean gameplay or story. Gameplay wise, they're fine. Some people have pointed towards Yosuru and said like, oh my god, this power creep. It's like, of all the Arc 2 characters, she's like the only one that's like noticeably stronger than other characters. And there's like so many other characters in Arc 2 that are kind of bad. Or not even, not quite bad, but at least just average. So their power level wise, they're still on kind of the same level. Some of them can do some really crazy stuff, like for example Sudachi can get turned to double in mirrors. I'm not even fucking kidding. She can just do that and it's consistent and it always works. However, for on one hand, her double is specifically weaker than anyone else's double in the game. Her double has a modifier of like 300%. Other people's magias have double of 400%. So her double is weaker than other people's magias, first off, okay? Secondly, doubles deal half damage in mirrors, so it's not even at 300%, it's like 150%. And you know, like a blast gorilla with SE, what their modifier is on a blast disc, on a blast puella combo, it's maybe like 150. So Sudachi's double maybe deals like as much damage as someone else's blast disc, and it's actually less than that because Sudachi has no attack. And the reason I bring this up is because this is something that is sort of going through all of the other Arc 2 characters. Like some of these Arc 2 characters, like also for example Yosuru, can do some really, really crazy stuff that looks OP. If you like think about, like if you tell someone like, hey, Sudachi can get turned to double in mirrors, it sounds like really fucking crazy. But the thing is, then you go in and say, however, and you add some buts, like but, so many buts, and not only does that look nice, the thing is, it just doesn't suddenly seem that powerful anymore. So yeah, Arc 2 girls are not that much more overpowered than other characters, because I know that some people have wondered about that. They really aren't. And story-wise, yeah, I don't know that much about them because I have like read almost none of their MSSs apart from Sudachi. Holy shit, Sudachi MSS is gonna get either completely removed or censored in North America. I'm not gonna tell you why, but I have a big feeling that we're not gonna see Sudachi's MSS the same way that Japanese people did, because some of the subject matter in that MSS is too yikes for America, I think. Anyway, but I don't know much about them story-wise, so I can't really say anything about them other than Promised Blood is shit. A pug asks, when do you think Arc 2 will come to an A? This is a question that's asked many times, and to do that I have brought something up to you guys. I have a list that I posted to Discord a while ago. I have a list of like chronologically events that are between us and Arc 2 release. Some of these are already in the past because we skipped them. For example, Rarity Star and the Nagisa raid event, Kamehama Cheese Panic. We kind of skipped those two for some reason, but they might still happen before Arc 2. Other than that, we have the second part of the Azalea event, where we get Sarasa Hana, drawn by Mura. You know it's drawn by Mura because she has no spine. Then we get the Summer Kyoko event, which is going to happen very soon, maybe even as the next event, we don't know. Then we get the first event, the very first event that actually starts, like properly starts Arc 2 story-wise, but not officially, just story-wise. We get some hints of Arc 2, Green Jasper Diviners, where we get the Tokime Trio. Actually, we only get one of them, but at least introduces the Tokime Trio. Then we get the Iriachi event, that is also like really much Arc 2 story, but not officially quite yet. It's called From New Breath. Then we get the Yukika event, which I think is... The fan translation for this one is really, really weird, because I think it's like... Otsukimi is after an elegant tea party. I don't know about that one. So that event also has some Arc 2 story relevant to it. So we're getting multiple events that sort of like build up to Arc 2 and are like closely connected to Arc 2, but we're not quite there yet. Then we get Suzune Part 2, which has no relevance to Arc 2 at all, but it happened on the Japanese server, so we're probably going to get it as well. We're going to see the release, and I can already tell you because there's a question that comes after this. Someone right down here somewhere asked about Matsuri. I don't know exactly where it is, but yeah, it's going to release at Suzune 2, and if this list is like chronologically correct, then it would be down here after all these other events. Then we would get a Matsuri and Haruka at Suzune Part 2 event, which is called Rumors in Disguise, and yes, many people have made the Transformers jokes. And then we get Crimson Resolve, where we get introduced to the shitters that are Promise Blood. But hey, at least we get the horse, because in case you don't know, Crimson Resolve, the gacha for that features an actual horse that you can get as a Magical Girl character for your team. And after that, that is when actually Arc 2 gets released together with Spirit Enhancement. So of course, this list right here, it's tentative, because we already skipped two of those events, the Rarity Star and Nagisa Raid event, but just in theory, it would, it should take at most these events. But at least, I would say Green Jasper Diviners, Iriachi, Yukika, Crimson Resolve. Like, I think those two kind of have to be done before Arc 2, unless they kind of want to say, fuck the build-up. But I assume because we already had the Magius Summer event, we're also going to get Summer Kyoko event in there as well. So, like, those seem extremely likely. The rest, maybe we're going to skip them, we don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the timeline. And if all of, imagine if all of these take like on average 10 days, like some of them are 7 days, some of them are 2 weeks. Let's say on average 10 days, it would be like 10, 20, 30, 40, like 50 days at least. It's like the minimum 50 days until we get it. But at maximum like 100 days, maybe somewhere in that, like somewhere between, not 100, like 110. So to put it, in other words, somewhere between 2 to 4 months, I think we're going to get it. Unless they skip a whole bunch, it's NA Tempo, anything can happen. They could do it tomorrow if they wanted to, because NA Tempo is fucking crazy. But yeah, just in theory, 2 to 4 months. That's also when Spirit Enhancement would happen. So what do you think of Ashley's SE? What will it be like? Do you think it's going to be insanely good with SE? We really have no idea whatsoever, because they could just randomly say Ashley is supposed to have a tanky side to her and give a whole bunch of tanky passives, which is really dumb. But they could do that. I mean, she has like an attack and defense scaling on her stats for some reason, so possibly they will do that. They could give her a whole bunch of immunities, like immunity to Bewitch seems likely, for example, and that would be even more slots that aren't being spent on like pure damage. If she has a whole bunch of blast up nodes, which actually is kind of likely that she has like multiple blast up nodes, she would be insanely fucking powerful. But at this point, we just don't really know. I could say pretty much anything to you. I could say to you, maybe she gets Blast MP, maybe she gets Damage Cut active, maybe she gets an active that casts Bewitch on herself. It could be pretty much anything, so it's really hard to talk about what it could be. So the only thing that I can say is get ready for anything. But also something that I want to mention is, even if her SE is like insanely good, that still doesn't mean that other characters might be better for certain aspects, and even if her SE is insanely bad, that wouldn't make her overall bad either. It really just depends on what her SE is. We're just going to have to look at that when it happens. Then, by the way, that question was asked by Nuriwiabu. I don't know if I said the other one asked, it was a pug. And the next one is asked by Serka is gay. She definitely is. When do you think for Homura, according to F4S, not according to me, when do you think Matsuri Hinata will be released in the answer? There we have it. It would be there. If we say that they're going to skip Atelier 2 as well, and they're not going to rerun, like do the events that they skip, right? Just a Nagisa raid event. They're going to do at least Summer Kyoko, Green Jasper Diviners, and Iriachi probably. So at least a month. Yukika event probably as well. So like maybe a month to 40 days until we would get her. But like I said, NA Tempo, they could do it at any point they wanted to. I don't really know. Does it actually show up? Oh my god, it does. Next up, by Angry Gamer VN, why is Oriko Magica so irrelevant in Magadejko? I have no answer for that other than the developers probably don't care about Oriko. They usually, it's possible that developers just say, well, Oriko and Kirika and Yuma, which are like the 3 most important Oriko characters, they're in the game, so we're done with them. They might just say, yeah, they're in the game, so we're done with them. Fuck Sadness Prayer, fuck whatever, Grief Syndrome, Non-Grief Syndrome, what was the other one? Noisy Stitching, like, just screw those, whatever. We have them in the game now, they have the main characters in the game, screw the rest and just move on. Some people might have said, but what maybe they don't have any way of working together with Mura, who is the artist behind Oriko. But that's not true, because Sarasa Hana is drawn by Mura, and I think she has some, or he has some writing done for the Suzune event, not Suzune, Azalea event 2 as well, where Hana gets released. So they definitely are working together with Mura to some degree. So I don't know, or maybe they asked Mura and Mura was like, fucking I don't know, and they don't have anything to do. But yeah, like I said, they also don't really care about Kazumi as well. So it's not the only manga that's not getting any attention, and neither is the different stories not getting any attention. Also not getting any attention is, of course, the best spin-off of all, bar none. No one can disagree with me because it's true. Everyone disagrees. Everyone agrees it's true. Homura Tamura. We also have no love for that at all. We need to get that at some point. Homura Tamura. Get Tamura as a playable character. She always has the like 1p above her head, and she attacks by sending other Homuras out there. Oh, that would be great. That would be great, crazy. So yeah, I can't really give a good answer to that. D please ask, what unit do you want in the game that hasn't been released yet? If we're going by characters that we know exist in the story, or that we know exist as future characters but we don't have yet, it would have to be Yusa. Yume no Yusa, or just Yu, because she was in the Nagisa event, and she was in the Homura swimsuit event. At least she was hinted at in that event. And she's fucking great, dude. She's amazing. She's written by Ino Curry. And Ino Curry, in case you guys don't know about the writing of Ino Curry, because, or Doro Ino to be more exact, because maybe you only know Ino Curry as like the 2 people that did the art for the witch barriers and witch designs and doppel designs. But yeah, Doro Ino also does a bunch of writing, and Doro Ino's writing is very close to the writing of Urobuchi. Like, if you just read through the Nagisa event, through Swimsuit Homura event, through the Valentine's event for Homura, it kind of feels like you're reading something that was written by Urobuchi, and it's just as dark and crazy. And Yume no Yusa is also written by Doro Ino, and oh my god, is she amazing. Everyone wants her in the game. She needs to be in the game, and we need her. Dinda Unaroma asks, favorite ship in Magadejko. Sorry, I had some brandy before this. Asks, favorite ship in Magadejko. My favorite ship in Magadejko is definitely Rikaren. I mean, I love Ren so much, and of course Rikaren will be in there, but also not just because I like Ren, but also because it's also a ship that actually works really, really well, because you have 2 characters that basically need to be together in order to help each other in very important ways. And this is not something that is usually a given on a lot of different on that many different ships. For example, Masa Koko, they don't specifically need each other that much. Like, you can argue, yeah, Koko helps Masada be more open about herself, but not really that much, and Masada doesn't really need it because she doesn't really face a crisis if she doesn't know whatever. And Kokoro gets over her family troubles with the help of Masada, but anyone that would listen to Kokoro would do the same. So it's not like she specifically needs Masada for that. So Masakoko is not really that powerful in that aspect as well. And there are a bunch of other ships like that as well, where it's just like, well, these two characters kind of like each other. But they don't specifically need each other to solve each other's problems. Like for example, if you look at Shizuku and Ayaka, Shizuku is just there for Ayaka to listen to her jokes. That's literally all that Shizuku is to Ayaka. She's just there to listen to some jokes. Wow. But yeah, not to go on too much about this, of course, Hikarin. But Alikari is, of course, also really amazing, because Alikari is also a very complex ship that is really, really awesome. One of the more, I almost want to say underrated, but it's actually not underrated at all. It's one of the most, it's probably the most popular ship on the Japanese server, Alikari. It's amazing. Blinding Awesomeness asks, which characters will be good units when mirror system Magia based? What are good memory for Magia mirrors? In other words, how should you prepare for Magia mirrors? The first thing you need to understand, you probably know this already, but it didn't really look like this in your question. When people talk about the Magia meta for mirrors, we're talking about the ranked meta. Because in ranked, you're going to get, after the rule change, because there's going to be a rule change. When the rule change happened, the rules basically then say, if you use Magia, you get a whole bunch of bonus points, and that's why people want to use Magia mirrors, to get those bonus points. But if you talk about normal mirrors, or if you just want to win, mirrors will still mostly be just about like blast connects, and that will win you every single game. So if you don't care about ranked, you don't need to prepare for Magia mirrors at all. But if you do care for ranked, it's hard to say what exactly are the best strategies and the best units in the game. But I would say just any sort of unit that can get to Magia really quickly and doesn't immediately kill every single unit with their own Magia. And the reason I bring this up is because you want to use multiple Magia if possible, within like 3 or 4 turns. If you can use like 2 or 3 Magia within 3 or 4 turns, like I think the optimum, without having anyone die on your team, so they should be a little bit tanky as well, or at least have some defensives. I think some of the 2 top units are like Karin, Mitama, Reina. They're Excel gorillas that don't die immediately when you look at them, but they can get to they get to Magia really, really fast, and their Magia doesn't immediately end the game because they're single target or deal no damage. So you can use multiple one after another without immediately ending. So I think those are like the 3 that are really, really good. But apart from that, just bring anything you want that builds Magia really, really fast without losing too much on your end, because you also get more points if your characters are more healthy when the game ends. So you don't want to lose too many people. And of course you still want to get connects, and you still want to not waste too many turns. So yeah, that's basically that. I can't really give any more specifics other than that. So because with Tercio, everything's going to be different on NA anyway. Lukas Zawarski asks, is it worth to use level up? If it worth to use and level up magical gods that don't have spirit enhancement yet? The thing is, every single character at some point is going to get spirit enhancement, so maybe I don't think it's worth it to specifically use characters right now that don't have spirit enhancement. If you have characters that do have spirit enhancement unlocked, and you have materials lying around that you can get them to full spirit enhancement without wasting too much, then yeah, it's probably better to just use anyone that has spirit enhancement unlocked over anyone who doesn't. But if you're wondering about the future, everyone's gonna get it at some point. So if you really, really like a specific character, and you're wondering if you should level them up or get them to like Magia level 5 or whatever, definitely do that, because they're gonna get a spirit enhancement at some point, and once they do, they're going to be free to use immediately. Oscilla Cubes asks, which do you think is worse, Gacha Hell or Idle Hell? The answer is obvious. Help me ask, worst Meguka story-wise, game-wise? There's 2 that fit this description. Like, there's 2 characters that are the 2 worst characters story-wise, and also the 2 worst characters game-wise. And I'm gonna have to name both of them. It's Konomi and Natsuki. Who even cares? I mean, I make so many jokes about Konomi being useless, but she is, in both the story and gameplay-wise, she's probably the worst. I'm not saying that I hate her, by the way. I'm just saying that story-wise she doesn't do much and it's kind of useless, and gameplay-wise also kind of useless and doesn't do anything. And same with Natsuki. They're kind of just there. Well, Konomi is. Natsuki isn't even there most of the time. And yeah, also I guess Konomi also isn't there that much. Alicia Escoto Asensio. I can't believe I nailed that. Do you think that MP Restore is good? I personally like characters who can do that. I really like your videos, heart. Thank you very much for that. MP Restore is in itself pretty good, but it also kind of depends on where it's coming from and who you use it on. So for example, If you have a Magia with MP Restore, of course the character needs to be able to actually get to Magia before the fight ends. So for example, if you had a Blast Gorilla, for example, that had MP Restore on their Magia, that would be kind of useless. Especially if it was MP Restore to self and not anyone else. That would be not very good, because first off, they're not going to get to Magia probably before the game ends, and even if they do, unlikely they're going to get to a second Magia. So that would be completely pointless in that sense. However, on a Connect, it's really awesome to be able to just give someone MP, especially if you're playing in like a Magia team. If you have a team that's built around getting to Magia and using Magia as often as possible, having MP Restore on Connect is really good and really done awesome. It's the main reason why people like Madoka combos, because that is just really good to have. But on the same note, if you have someone who can get to Magia quickly and restores MP to everyone, that is also really good. It's also Madoka. So Madoka kind of has both of the best sides of MP Restore, having it on a Connect and having it on a Magia to everyone when you are a character that can get to Magia easily. That's really good. Also, you said you personally like characters who can do that. Yeah, that's great. If I, for example, said that MP Restore was bad, then even so, you should have still kept using those characters, because after all, Magia Record is designed in such a way that you can play however you want, as long as you kind of have an idea what you're doing and you kind of design your team around a certain way. You can basically make almost every single strategy work, so if you like something, go for it. Then we also have a Blazy Tony who asks, I know almost every girl Mitami Hama knows between each other, but there's also a guide to know from where do they know each other. Also teams, there's like a canon team besides Mikazuki Villa and team Kamore. Also there's more like a gameplay wise, and if you already did, I haven't seen it, but Magia teams, is there like a guide to know what Magia girls are good to make a Magia double team, rather than just Blast Girls to pass every mission. I didn't make a video specifically about Magia teams, but I did make a video about team composition. I don't know if I called it specifically team composition. I'm probably going to put the video in the link in the description below as well about that. But yeah, I did make a video about team composition, and I think in the second half of the video I talk a little bit about Magia teams as well. There's not too much to know about Magia teams unless characters have like very specific things they can do. For example, if they have an Excel draw pad personal like Madoka or Kako, they're already amazing. Like those two are like something that is worth mentioning. They're really good to have. Or if you have characters with connects that restore MP, also Madoka is really good. Or Magias that restore MP, and also Madoka that can do that are really good. Or just characters that have really powerful effects on their Magia, or characters that give as a Magia like buff Excel MP gain up, for example, or MP gain up, so you can use multiple Magia. But I think I talk a bit more about that in the video as well. So about Magical Girl teams, there is this relationship chart here. I don't know if I can link this in the description, because this is not mine, I just found this somewhere. If you just Google Magia Record relationship chart, you'll probably find this. I think it's on DeviantArt by an artist called Sketches of Pain. You'll probably find this, and if I disable my webcam for a second, you can see the entire thing. And if I scooch it over a little bit, actually you can see everything. Okay, so the thing is, this chart is a bit weird to see everything, because of course it's all over the place, but you can kind of see some of the teams that are all over here. Actually, some of them are off to the side. Nope. Over here, there we go. And for example, we have the apartment complex team. We have for some reason Shizuku, Ayaka and Seika is a team as well. We have kind of everything right here that is connected with very closely to Arif, or more importantly that has like a frame around it. Those are teams together. So everything that is framed around here, for example, at the very bottom left you have characters from Akane Gasaki, although they're not specifically a team, but they're kind of together. We have the Nanaka Mafia, it's called The Crew in here, Atalea team, and so on. So that probably will be of help to you. Then next up we have Xavier, who is asking what units are not canon in the Migraine Temple. Oh, by the way, also you mentioned from the question about Blazy Tony, who asked if there's a guide on how characters know each other. As far as I know, no. But in the description I've linked the Google sheet towards like links to every single Magical Girl story, and I guess you can just look for every single Magical Girl story and maybe you're going to find some other characters in there, but there's like no list that like has specifically the connection between these characters, like from where they know each other. So yeah, Xavier asked, what units are not canon in the Magadejko timeline? I'm not quite sure what exactly you mean, as in like, out of all of the characters that are in the gacha or playable, which of these are not canon in the Magadejko timeline? All of them are canon in the Magadejko timeline. Literally all of them, although some of them might not be alive at the current like chronological point in the story, like after chapter 10. Not all of them are alive currently, but canon, they're all canon. Murakami is canon to the Magadejko timeline, so all the other characters. Nagisa is somehow canon to the Magadejko timeline. It's possible that Valentine's Nagisa isn't canon, but it's like the only character that I can think about. When do you think we'll catch up to Japanese? Probably around next anniversary. When it comes to main story, we'll catch up probably earlier than that. But if we're talking about all of the individual events, it will probably take like up to next anniversary and even longer to actually catch up on all of the different events as well. So it's gonna take quite a while longer as well. But at least main story wise, we're going to catch up in a handful of months. It's really hard to say. Biggest disappointment of the game, basically the entirety of the main story. The thing is, when I first started Magadejko and I read through some of the synopsis and translations that were available for the Japanese server, it seemed at first, like through the first 4, 5, maybe even 6 chapters, that the story was actually going to be alright. Maybe nothing too great, but it was going to be alright. And the thing is, we kind of got our hopes up, seeing that, oh, maybe this is going to lead to something because they're building something up, it's going to be great. And then chapter 7 happens, and chapter 6 happens, chapter 7 happens, 8, 9, 10, and it just keeps going down and down and down, and all of our hopes and dreams were completely crushed with terrible writing, with plot holes so big. Like, there's so many plot holes in Magadejko. If you combined all of those plot holes into one big plot hole, that plot hole would be big enough to fit Toka's ego. That big. And if the story was bad from the beginning, I probably wouldn't have cared. But because the story was actually looking like it was going to lead up to something throughout the first half, we kind of got our hopes up, and that's when disappointment happened. What do you think is holding Magadejko back from reaching a wider audience? I think Magadejko had a big enough audience that like went and downloaded the game and played the game and checked the game out. I think Magadejko is not keeping players actually playing the game and not keeping whales at the game. Like, I know multiple whales have stopped playing the game, and the main reason for that is just that the monetization is horrible. I made an entire video about that where I went probably a bit too in depth, but just to very quickly go on about the monetization is just that the game is so free-to-play friendly that you can just beat every single piece of content in the game, including all of mirrors that is to see, with just free-to-play stuff, so you don't need to ever roll the gacha. There are no cosmetics or utilities or anything else to spend money on. So there's basically nothing that is worth spending money on in the game, and that kind of sucks. And because of that, the thing is, it's not just that, oh, that's just for the whales. That's for normal players as well. Because if you really like something, then it's really awesome to know that you can get something that makes you more special, that makes your game more special, even just visually. Like, I know many people would love to actually have costumes that show in battle. Like, imagine Ren's swimsuit, for example, that showed in battle. People would probably pay money for that. And it's not just, oh, it's just whale baiting, haha, whale baiting, it's anti-consumer. That is, having the ability to pay for something is not always anti-consumer, because having cosmetics is a really good feeling for a lot of people to have the ability to get something like that. And that just doesn't exist. So with a gacha that is not worth your money and no cosmetics or utilities or anything else to spend money on, really, there's just no reason for you to stick around after you've got a team that can beat everything. You don't need to pull for more characters, so why bother with a gacha? And there's nothing else you can spend money on if you like to spend money. Like, even if you really wanted to spend money, there's nothing to spend money on. So because of that, I think a lot of people are also leaving the game because they either feel like there's nothing to do with their efforts, or even if they want to spend money, they kind of feel like they're getting ripped off, so they don't want to bother with something like that. So yeah, what other call-ups do you like or expect to see in the future? Extremely hard to say, because it could almost be anything. I would assume maybe some other Kirara Magia fine. So like Kirara, Fantasia, maybe that would be something. I would assume maybe some other mobile games that also have had collabs with Magadejko in the past, which at this point, like half of all mobile games that ever existed. No, I don't want a Fate crossover. Why? Because Fate, Stay Night, or just Fate in general, is just way too sexualized and has way too much fan service in it. Like you look at Ilya and Kuro, and you think, hey, maybe we can get a crossover with Fate Carolina. I've seen everything of Fate Carolina, by the way. Like I can shit on Fate because I've seen so much of Fate. I've seen Fate Carolina. I've seen every version of Fate Stay Night, Fate Zero. I played for Fate Stay Night. Holy shit! I played Fate Grand Order for like multiple years, longer than Magadejko actually. So yeah, because I know so much about Fate, I can shit on Fate. So don't give me that. But yeah, Fate is. I think that would be really, really bad for Magadejko if we had a crossover with Fate, because Kuro, like Fate, I keep wanting to say Fate Tonight, Fate Carolina's Kuro and Ilya are just way too sexualized, and Mew as well. Way too much fan service for that to go anywhere close to Magadejko. So no, please cheat them out. Although it would be fun. I would concede it would be fun. Okay, but a train wreck. Then Setsu Ruby Pie asks, what's going to be in Arc 3? No idea. What is, because we didn't even start Arc 2 correctly. I mean, we're just in Chapter 2, which is basically not even through the door yet. It is actually will be in Arc 3. Absolutely no idea as well. No one can say anything about Arc 3 because we really don't know anything about it. I don't think, but in general, is Ashley going to be in the Japanese server? Probably not. I don't think Ashley will ever be in the Japanese server, at least story-wise. Now, she might be added maybe at some point in like a year or something, but I don't think she'll ever be relevant to main story. Then there was something that's crossed out because it was a mistake. And will we see the Holy Quintet again in Arc 3? I hope not, but who knows? We can't say anything about Arc 3, like literally nothing we can say about Arc 3 at all. And I can't even speculate, because Arc 2 isn't even out the door yet. Like we haven't even started properly on Arc 2 yet, so we can't really say anything about Arc 3 at all. Might as well ask about Arc 4 or 5 or 6, so we really don't know. And then JC Hernandez asks, is it worth buying the 30-day Magia Pass? I'll say this. If you don't want to spend money on the game, the Magia Pass is not going to change that opinion. But if you are willing to spend money on the game, you should probably start with the Magia Pass. So this is the thing. If in the realm of I want to spend money, Magia Pass is good. In the realm of I probably don't want to spend money, don't worry about it. Don't get Magia Pass. That's basically what I would say about the Magia Pass. Holly Sims asks, when do you think we'll get Irohan and get your team up card? We can refer back to this right here. It would be before Matsuri and Haruka from the Susanoo event. So I think probably a bit over a month. But like I said, NA tempo, they could just skip Azalea 2. They could just keep skipping Rarity Star and Nagisa Raid event and get us to Iroyachi. Maybe even around Iroha's birthday, which is on 22nd of August. So it's possible they keep skipping Rarity Star and Nagisa Raid just to get Iroyachi around Iroha's birthday. Very much possible. I wouldn't like it. Many people wouldn't like that because Rarity Star is really good and Nagisa Raid event is fun, at least from a gameplay perspective. So it's not so fun if they keep skipping it, but at this point it actually kind of seems likely. So it's possible. The next possible date seems to be Iroha's birthday, which is August 22nd. The reason why it's Iroha's birthday, by the way, is because that's when the Japanese release is, which is also why that's going to be Japanese Anniversary 3. So yeah, so much for that. So that's probably when I think we're gonna get it. Miko Fan 559. This one Miko Fans. Well, when Devil Homura, actually, I used to live together with a Miko Fan. Wow. When Devil Homura comes to the game, what do you think her kit will look like? Connect ES skill disc, Magia, double ESE. Personally, hoping for a quintuple blast this with SE effect of blast MPK and up. Also, do you think she'll come out for this JP 3rd anniversary? First off, I don't think she'll come out for 3rd anniversary. Mostly because I feel like they're going to keep putting Akuma Homura off until they probably believe the game is going downhill, like too much that they would have to cancel it at some point. Like right now, the game on the Japanese server financially is doing fine. Like it's nowhere near the top list. It's nowhere near top 20, I think. It used to be top 20, I think, at some point. Like I think the first year after release, it was somewhere around top 20. And like when Madokami released, or when Kyoko released, or in general when really big units released, it actually kind of pushed even towards top 1 earnings for like an hour on like the real-time chart. So it definitely had potential. It has kind of been declining recently, but it's still doing well enough that there's like no way it's going to be shut down in the near future. But I believe if they feel like it's going downhill too much, or they're not really able to pull it back too much, then they might release Akuma Homura. But I think because it's still going quite alright, they might not release her yet. However, that's just speculation basically, and we can't really say anything. Like, they might release her even though the game is doing fine, because they might just say, well, sure, whatever, people want Akuma Homura, we're gonna give him Akuma Homura, whatever. But I still think that, at least so far with Iroyachi, it seemed like they're going to do just a character that we don't immediately have on our radar, just to have a little bit of a surprise factor. But it's possible. So I say it's possible. I don't think it's gonna happen, but yeah, it's possible. It could happen. About her kit, it's extremely difficult to say because, of course, you have regular Homura is a blast gorilla, so they could make her a blast gorilla as well. But the thing is, because she has absorbed the power of Madokami, and basically what she does is more surrounding her special ability that she has gained, which I don't even know what exactly it is, or more about her godly powers. I assume she's going to have more than one Exceldis. I assume she probably will actually be 2 Exceldis, 2 Blastis, maybe even 2 Exceldis, 2 charge this. I hope not. But I think she's going to have 2 Exceldis just because I feel like godlike characters are just going to have some Magia or double like Magia 2 emphasis in there, and that's why I think she's going to be more on Magia. So I think she's going to be a hybrid between current Homura with maybe some blast ups, maybe even a active gift blaster, maybe a connected gift blaster, but also some Magia in there. Maybe her active also gives Magia up. Maybe she has a bunch of, maybe she has blast MP as well. Maybe she has a connected also, she restores MP, which she stole from Madoka. It's possible that she has stuff like that. So I think her kit is going to be something like that. But at this point, it could be anything. It could be 4 charges, but I hope it's not. But I don't think they're going to go too far away from original Homura, because she's basically just an evolution of original Homura. So yeah, that's I think what it's going to be like. Ekchan asks, which protagonist couple is gayer, Homura or Madoka, or Yachi or Iroha? Explain. I think it's Iroyachi, mostly because it's a lot more mutual between them. With Homura, of course, Madoka also likes Homura back, but not quite in the same romantic way that Homura likes Madoka. So the love from Homura towards Madoka is way stronger than from Madoka to Homura. But with Iroyachi, they both are like, oh my god, did you see their card art for their Iroyachi like 5-star? They have interlocked legs. Holy shit, that's so fucking gay. Like, they're a lot more in-your-face gay than Madohomu are in official material, I will say. Like, in official material, Madohomura aren't really in-your-face gay, while Iroyachi very much are. So Iroyachi, I think, is gayer, although out of all of these 4 characters, of course, Homura has by far the most gay energy. So yeah, just ask the question because this is my cricket after all. And you're saving Yukata and Magadejko for the next Q&A. I've already talked about these a little bit, so maybe you can be a little bit more broader on other stuff you might want to ask as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more shipping related questions in that. So I'm going to refresh, by the way, here once just to see in case a new question came in while I was doing this video. We're going to sort by newest. And we did not get a new question. Okay, that's good. So that's basically it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, leave me a comment below. If you have more questions, I guess you can put them in the comments below, but it's probably better if you wait until I do another Q&A post on my channel, and then because I want to have like one place where I can gather all of them so I can go through them like I did in this video. And yeah, that would be a lot nicer. So yeah, wait for the next Q&A time post. It's probably gonna take a while until I do it, so that you guys can hold on to your questions until then and gather many more questions for me to answer, and I'll do that in the future again. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I really liked getting to talk to you guys a bit more like personally. Of course, I'm not like in front of me, but it's really nice to see get myself more out there together with you guys, because as I mentioned earlier with Migraine Record, the best part of Migraine Record is the community. So since the game itself doesn't really have those features for us, I am very active on the Discord. I'm one of the top admins, not admins, but like top moderators on the Discord. So yeah, of course, I'm all over that Discord. So because of that, I'm like really invested into the community, and I want to give back as much as I can to you guys. So yeah, as I mentioned, if you have anything to add to this, hit a comment below. Otherwise, wait for the next Q&A post to go up and ask even more questions. And I look forward to that, and I'll see you guys next time.